Hey there, welcome to Millennium Milestone Presents, a site dedicated to storytelling in books, movies, video games, and other exciting genres, where negotiations broke down between Castle Grayskull and Snake Mountain after Skeletor decided to pull the fire alarm for the 5th time.
Until we meet again!
Well, the power has been vested in me, no, not to get anyone hitched, but to review a movie, a classic, a epic of ages that's never been done before, that we're about to see right now. We're about to see the one, the only, Masters of the Universe. Are you excited with me, folks?
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Well, I'll leave it up to you to reserve judgment if you can. But first and foremost, let me just give you a premise for the film, which isn't really that complicated, but I'll explain it anyways. There's Adam of Eternia, a planet far, far away from Earth, obviously, who is now in exile on Earth after Eternia is taken over by the evil Skeletor. It's decades later since Adam has been on his own homeworld planet, and now the time has come for him to return, but he first has to find his mystical sword and gain the power of Grayskull to fight against the evil Skeletor and take back the planet that was once his. Now, I saw the first ever Masters of the Universe in the 1980s with Dolph Lundgren. I saw that in theaters as a kid, and I'm not going to kid you, I was hyped when that movie came out. I was stoked, and I ate up every minute of it as a kid, mind you. Time has passed, and I do recognize that that Masters of the Universe was not quite the movie we were expecting it to be, but for what it was worth, it was a great piece of nostalgia in my past. But now, how does this movie stack up in the modern day when this has to deal with every trope that goes up against everything that the so-called modern audience goes against? Well, let's find out right now. Well, the movie opens with the typical hero's journey, the call to adventure that usually begins a prime male protagonist, the hero having to learn from the beginning how to become a hero. And that spans about roughly maybe 10-15 years, depending on how the story pans out. And we do see the beginnings of Man-at-Arms, Teela, and all the rest of the gang of He-Man showing up to battle against Skeletor for the first time. The presentation of this isn't bad. The opening doesn't take very long, and you do eventually get from Earth back to Eternia, where the real story begins. In terms of presentation of the movie, I don't have a problem with it. It definitely has that vibe of He-Man that you definitely love from the 80s. It does gag a little bit on the tropes from that era, which, don't get me wrong, it doesn't bother me. I get it. You know, it is the 80s versus now, and it deserves its place to be roasted a few times here and there. That being said, there were times where it seemed like it wanted to do something with toxic masculinity in this movie, and it seemed like they just edged enough not to really touch it nearly as much as they could have. Like, for instance, when Adam was on Earth, working at HR of all places, I don't know why that was even an idea. There were hints of the modern audience, as people like to call it, their ideas of what is positivity and being yourself and accepting of oneself and all that, but it wasn't nearly as egregious as I expected it to be, so that didn't bother me nearly as much at all. If there was anything that really bothered me about the movie in any way possible, it might have been a little bit of Man-at-Arms. Now, believe it or not, it's not the racial swap that bothered me about him. At the end of the day, I can get by that. I was okay with Idris Elba's portrayal of the character. He seems to respect the lore of the character and doesn't try to do anything outlandish with him. If there was anything going wrong with it, it was usually in the writing itself, where they have him portrayed as a drunk after the first intro to the movie. And on some level, I can understand it. I just find it ironic that a father figure is portrayed this way and has to fight with all these demons just to get back. And I don't mind it. When his character arc does conclude at the end of the movie, it actually fixes itself. I can get past it, even though it did kind of bother me a little bit that he tried that at all. As for Teela, I didn't mind her character at all. There were times where I do feel like they kind of lean in way too hard on the girls get it done trope a little bit, but she was actually not nearly taking over the spotlight for He-Man in any way. If anything, I wish there was a little bit more of a feminine side to her, a little bit of vulnerability with her. That's maybe my only complaint with her. But going to the main actor himself, Nicholas Galitzine, I gotta say, I'm okay with the actor and his portrayal of He-Man. I'm not wowed by his performance. It's not like Chris Evans when he took on the role of Captain America. So I'm willing to accept it for now. Now, the reason I'm not upset about him or have a real serious issue with him, he does fine for this movie for the most part, is take another example of Hayden Christensen, who portrayed Anakin Skywalker in the Star Wars prequel trilogy. Now, he didn't come on till episode 2 because there was a different actor before that, and I didn't mind. Well, let me put it this way. I wasn't sold on him in episode 2. I think the choice of how he portrayed Anakin was very strange and weird. I didn't understand it at the time. But by the time we got to episode 3, we definitely had the Anakin we were looking for in episode 3. So that's why I'm a little accepting of Galzine as He-Man, because he needs to, get used to the role. I think he'll do just fine with later installments of He-Man as time progresses. I will say, though, that Dolph Lundgren, who has a cameo in this film, didn't exactly help the case for Galzine to be in this movie. When you see the two of them together on screen for the first time, you sort of get a night and day comparison of the two, and I can't say that it shouldn't be in there. I just wish there was a better way to have executed that part a little bit. As for Jared Leto's portrayal of Skeletor, I would say he is definitely the standout in this movie. It's not a grandiose standout, but Leto does a good performance of an evil, conniving villain, and you can't ask anything more for it. He's definitely got the comedic side of him shining really well in this movie, and I got no complaints about Skeletor. Skeletor is just what he's supposed to do: be a villain, be a badass, and do it with style. I mean, he does it absolutely well. Even Evelyn, who I believe is portrayed by Alison Brie, does an excellent job of just being the character she's supposed to be, the side henchman of Skeletor, and she has her shining comedic moments too as well, which work hand in hand with the rest of the characters in He-Man. Now, there is a challenge for Masters of the Universe, and it's definitely in its budget. Most reports are estimating that it needs to make roughly about a little bit over $440 million to meet its production, marketing, and everything that it needs to make a profit in this movie. At least break even now, more or less. I don't see this movie having a difficult time getting people in theaters. It'll be interesting to see if it'll make the budget over time. It does have the challenge of Scary Movie coming out this weekend, and then there is Supergirl coming out later in June that could be a challenge to it as well, but we'll have to wait and see. There's also the added point that I almost forgot to mention earlier. We still have Obsession still in theaters, as well as Backrooms, and those movies are still performing very well. So He-Man actually has a double-edged sword, so to speak, of challenges from both movies. So definitely you have to watch out for both those two movies and Scary Movie and Supergirl to see if He-Man even can come out of this battle at all. As for my final thoughts on He-Man, I would definitely say that this movie is just passable. I would label it good, just right on the edge of good. It would have felt mid if it got bogged down, but more woke stuff, but it's not egregious. I'm not going to knock it for some of the things that millennials might throw in as jokes in there, because again, this is the 80s, and I lived in it. I lived in the 90s. We deserve our time to get roasted here and now and then, and I'm okay with that. So this movie gets a good passing for me. It's not going to get excellent, but good, and you could definitely enjoy this, whether in theaters. I would definitely say would be the best experience for it, but if you want to see in streaming, that's entirely up to you. But hey, maybe you guys thought this was a terrible movie. If you want to tell me that, I want to hear that in the comments. If you thought it was the most fantastic and deserves a huge rating, I would love to hear that as well. Other than that, you best better believe I'll be back for the next one.